All right. So welcome to Kelly Kounts Macros podcast. And I'm your host, Kelly Mosdy. And today I'm joined by Amanda Poole, where we are going to talk about all things maintenance and how she got there, giving you my specific, detailed step-by-step approach to achieving and maintaining defined muscles, all while eating Cheez-Its, bagels, and biscuits. And she's going to tell us how she went from confusion, over-exercising, nervously snacking on Cheez-Its at her daughter's sports functions, and over searching social media for answers on how to get toned muscles, to actually feeling confident in her own skin, wearing a bikini, doing less cardio, and enjoying desserts while finally having the abs and the muscle definition that she desires. So when she looks in the mirror, she loves what she sees. So welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Thank you.
So Amanda, before we dive in, let's go back to the beginning. What was your life like before you found Kelly Kounts Macros? What were some things you were struggling with?
I struggled with bloat. I had a problem with that. I couldn't figure out what it was. So I would do like restrictive dieting, thinking it was certain foods. I feel like around 3 o'clock every day when I needed to go get my girls from school, it was like I needed toothpicks for my eyes. I was just tired. And then I would do like, I don't want to call them fad diets, but like where I would go get protein shakes and stuff. They would have a challenge and I would do it. And then at the end, you would just go back to what you were doing and I would go back to where I was. And so it was just this cycle. I would get where I was happy. And then it was like afterwards, you were starving and I would eat what I wanted. And then I was unhappy looking for something else to figure out how to get rid of, because I just carried a little bit of fat around my stomach. And I'm like, I work out way too much for me not to be able to see the results.
Right. So you were caught in that vicious cycle. You had no energy. You had the afternoon snackies. You would do research and do these, fad diets. And then when they were kind of done, you just went back to your old ways. So I think so many people can relate to that for sure. So let's make this path that I give you crystal clear and keep it simple. KISS, I call it, keep it super simple. So the definitions of the 3 words we'll be using today, we're going to talk about cutting, reversing, and maintaining. So cutting macros is the process of setting and adhering to specific macro targets with the goal of achieving a calorie deficit to promote weight loss or fat loss by consuming fewer calories than your body needs. Cutting macros aims to facilitate weight loss over time, being consistent over time. Without consistency, which is the magic pill, you'll have slower progress and perhaps feel like a failure. So that is why the consistency calendar that we use inside of the Kelly Kounts Macros Clubhouse is the game changer for most. The next word is reverse dieting. So reverse dieting is a structured and gradual process of increasing calorie intake and adjusting macros after a period of calorie restriction or a diet or a cut. And the purpose of reverse dieting is to restore metabolic rate and minimize weight regain while transitioning the body from a calorie deficit to maintenance. It involves increasing calorie intake over time, usually in small increments. I typically use 100 to 150 calories every 2 weeks with my coaching inside of the Kelly Kounts Macros Clubhouse. This allows the body to adapt and adjust to higher calorie levels without experiencing that rapid weight gain. Plus, my clients always need to work on the mental aspect. The hardest part of knowing that they can eat more and then not worrying about gaining the weight back. So the goal of reverse dieting is to establish a sustainable and balanced approach to eating pizza and drinking wine that supports long-term maintenance body comp while not losing the results that you have worked so hard for. So the next word is maintenance. Okay, so maintenance macros, they refer to the specific macro targets that an individual consumes to maintain their current weight and their physiques. So these macros are customized to align with the individual's energy and the body's needs. So the focus of maintaining macros is on finding a sustainable calorie count that supports weight maintenance and body comp. So it involves consuming an appropriate number of calories to sustain the individual's current weight range and provide the necessary nutrients for optimal health, along with momentum to build muscles. So can you say gym gains? And we talk about building that muscle. All right, so let's dive into reversing to maintenance macros and what that looked like for you, Amanda. So there are many reasons that I suggest when it's time to move to maintenance. So number one, if you've reached your goal weight. Number two, if your adherence sucks. Number three, if you need or want a break, it's a vacation, it's a holiday, you can always go back to a cut. Number four, if you're at your goal weight range and you want to build muscle. And number five, if you have been at a cut for too long. So this is hard to put a number on, the weeks, the months, but to be honest, one of the first four reasons that I named usually comes first. So your body is not meant to be in a cut forever or all year long. So we work through this inside of the Kelly Kounts Macros Clubhouse together, giving you a step-by-step, handheld, private coach path so that you're not confused or overwhelmed or scared to gain the weight back. So the order is cut, reverse, maintain, and then cut again if you want to lose more weight or want to lose more body fat. So Amanda, what was your reason for being ready to reverse up to maintenance?
I think I hit where the weight I got to, I think my cut, I was cutting and it was getting really low, but I think I was ready to where I got rid of, I could see my abs, but I wanted to put on muscle and it just wasn't, I just couldn't stay there forever. So I wanted to figure out how could I eat and get to a normal amount of calories to sustain me, but I didn't know how to get there. Like I didn't want to just stop and be like, okay, I didn't know where to go. So I think I did another 12 weeks to figure out how can I get up to maintenance and what does that look like?
Right. So we worked your way back up to a calorie maintenance that was comfortable for you. And, was there any fear of gaining weight back for you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And, I think in society, we villainize carbs. And so I was really hesitant about adding 20 more grams of carbs every week. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to undo everything. But it just gave me the energy to be able to do things. And I slowly was able to see the muscle gains and the strength gains at the gym. And it wasn't all going back as fat. And people were commenting at the gym that they could see my muscle gains. And so that helped me a lot too. And a lot of it, I really did have to retrain myself that it's not all the scale. That's hard to do. But my clothes still fit the same. I looked way more toned. And one of the things, I hated taking pictures. That's so hard to do. But without the pictures, I don't think I would have seen the muscle gains that I had. Now I like taking the pictures because sometimes, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all those non-scale victories.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely is not all about the scale. And especially when you're working your way into maintenance, those progress pictures can be super helpful. And while they are hard to take, you're super glad that you have them to look back on and see how far you've come. Yes. And fearing the carbs, I think everybody still kind of has that fear. And I'm glad that you just kind of busted that myth that there's no real reason to fear the carbs. So knowing that 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories and 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories and 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories, we reversed your calories slowly to maintenance, adding in 25 carbs or 11 fat or a combo of both. But typically you wanted the carbs.
Yes.
So we added those in for sure. So I know everyone may be thinking and wanting to ask how many calories you eat and can maintain your weight, your physique.
For my maintenance, I can get 2,100 calories, which for me blew my mind because all the time, my husband, he would look at stuff on labels, nutrition labels, and it would say, based off of a 2,000 calorie diet. And I would argue until I was blue in the face that people don't eat that. You cannot eat that much. You would never be able to do that. That's way too much food. And I think I learned in the reversing is that I kickstarted my, my metabolism that I could just eat so much. I think it was 218 grams of carbs, and I would have never eaten over 100. I just wouldn't have, because I thought, oh no, that's just going to make my stomach, I'm going to have belly fat. I wouldn't do it. But then I was so tired.
Yeah.
And I would try and exercise it away. If I did eat something extra over the 100, or sometimes it was 125 grams of carbs, I would do the spin bike or get on the treadmill, even though I had lifted weights and played tennis. I canceled out in my mind that tennis was cardio, even though I burned a ton of calories. I thought I have to do cardio. But I learned through all this that I don't do any extra cardio. I play tennis and I lift weights, and that's it. I don't do any extra.
Yeah. So in the reversing, you definitely educated yourself, and you reflected on what you actually do need to put in practice as far as your exercise. And so many people can relate to that, right?
For sure.
Yeah, the over exercising, that I need more cardio, that I ate carbs, so now I'm going to hop on the treadmill. But debunking all of those myths through this, it's just super refreshing. If you can see Amanda right now, she's tall and she's lean and she's a tennis loving, muscle defined machine, and the fact that she can eat 2,100 calories and maintain should be very eye-opening for, a lot of you. So I know everybody wants a mathematical equation, right? So typically what I found is 12 to 15 times your goal weight when using pounds here in the US. This is possibly your maintenance, but that's not set in stone, and it's kind of a little bit of an experiment working your way up slowly. So, this is what I have found to be typical and average. So next, I know everybody's going to say to me, well, Kelly, how do I know when I'm at maintenance? Okay. So number one, you're staying within your weight range. And I said range. There's not one specific number. So definitely a range. Another indicator, as Amanda kind of alluded to, is your waist measurement. Okay. So how your clothes are fitting. And number three, as always, you need to be taking those progress pictures. Those are super important. I know sometimes they're hard to take. Amanda and I talked about that, but I can't stress that enough. So, Amanda, I'd also would like to share how many times that you've cut, reversed, and then maintained, how many times you've went through that cycle.
So I did an initial cut, and then I reversed up to maintenance. And then that put me right before spring break of, what would have been, I started in 2021. So right before spring break of 22, I think we did a mini cut. It was a short one, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I maintained from then on until just this January. And I decided to do the January shred. And so now I've reversed back up to maintenance.
Yes. So you've been through this cycle a couple of different times. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people say, think they constantly have to be in this cut, this diet all the time, when you don't have to, and that's why you've been so successful doing the cut to reverse to maintain. And each time that you do it, it gets a little bit easier, and you know what it looks like, and you know what it feels like.
Yes.
And, maintaining is life. So as I say that, what's your life like now? How are things better?
I have tons of energy. I think, I'm not hungry all the time. I think in going through the process several times, in the beginning, it's definitely hard. It's like a game of Tetris of figuring out where things fit and how much of this and that I can have. But now I've pretty much got it memorized. And I just think I have changed my mindset where I don't really think of good and bad foods. I can make anything fit. I mean, I love a red velvet donut, but I would have walked past it and been like, I'll never eat it, but I can eat it. Yeah. I'll eat it. I mean, it makes it a little bit tougher to get your protein in for the day, but then I'll just have scrambled egg whites along with it. And for me, if I would have ate a donut, I would have withheld food for like almost the whole day until, so I just think I have a better mindset. And even one of the things we talked about, I have two girls, one's 14 and one's 11. And they just knew there were things I would not eat, and I struggled with, am I going to give them an eating disorder? I didn't want them to have the same mindset I did. They're both athletes. And then I also worried about weighing things in front of them. Am I going to make them? But now they ask questions like, what else should I eat? Or like, how much protein should I be eating? So they think of it in a mindset of they're not restricting. They want to eat the right amount of certain foods so that they can be strong and have enough energy. So yeah, it's a better mindset for me. And also when you go through the cut and the maintenance, I've learned like, if I want to have the birthday cake, or my daughter did a baking camp and she brought home a pie and a loaf of bread every day. And I wasn't going to hurt her feelings by not eating it. Cause before I would never have eaten a piece of pie. I would not, I just would skip it. You're going to see the scale go up just because of like the extra carbs, or maybe you went over, but in a day or two, it goes back. Just one day is not going to make you gain 3 pounds. Like, it's not real. Like, I stepped on the scale the next morning and I'm always like, you're not real. Before I would have been like, I'm not going to eat as much today. But now I'm like, I know tomorrow you'll go back to where you should be.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. You're not real. Everybody needs to say that that's struggling with the scale.
Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes on those days, I just won't log it because I'm not going to say I'm mentally fixed. I mean, we're women and there's all these pressures and you want to be a certain weight. So I'm not going to say that ever goes away, but I can handle it. It doesn't bother me. So sometimes though, I'm not going to log it in my macros because then when I look back at it, it just sometimes I'm like, oh, I mean, it still happens, but I knew it was just because my body was holding on to water, or maybe I just had the extra weight of the food in me.
Right. You're exactly right. All of those things are 100% truth. And the fact that you're bleeding into the next generation with your girls is huge. That's where my heart is at. And I know yours is there too. Yeah. They need to see that. And it's not an obsession if you have, a food skill. If we get out measuring cups, nobody says anything to us. No. And you're educating them. That's all it is. And the fact that they're adding in foods, they're adding in, they're not taking away, they're not depriving, and teaching them, what normal portion amounts look like. Because that's not easy to find everywhere where a normal portion is.
And the scale is so great because if you think about it, as for me, I thought I'm teaching myself this is how much, this looks like for this much protein or this many carbs. And so when you go out to eat, because going out to eat is a challenge, especially in the very beginning, you can look at a piece of steak or a piece of chicken or a baked potato and know that, maybe half of that is, the 100 grams that you can fit into your diet, or the 60, or, you just figure it out. But without the scale, it's just guessing and you are just derailing yourself.
Right. Yep. When you can keep it tight, and it's to educate you. So like you said, you do know what 100 grams of chicken breast looks like. Yeah, for sure. So I think we already shared some tips and tricks and hacks, but do you have anything else to share regarding counting macros?
I think using your resources, like I think I would have never figured out how to count macros without your help. I mean, and just debunking the myths and walking through it. There were many times you'd have to help me, and there were things that I mean, it wasn't perfect going through, and I didn't like this. And so we would adjust certain macros for days I did exercise and days I didn't, because the days I didn't exercise, I would see a lot of fluctuation, and those calories that I was eating was not where, wasn't making me happy as, when I was burning 800 calories just playing tennis. So I think having the guidance and the modification, because there's so much information out there, gets confusing.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest tip is pre-tracking in the beginning, because you can think you're fine, and then all of a sudden it's dinner time and you might have 100 calories left and you're like, I'm starving, what can I eat?
Right. Yes. Pre-tracking is definitely in the beginning, needs to be done so that you can fit it all in, not come to the end of the day and either be starving or have a whole bunch of macros left to you. And, for you and for most, the fact that macros are adjustable, and that, with my guidance, it was so much easier to do, because you could go down rabbit holes all day long online looking for the answer, instead of, just sending me a message.
Yeah.
And we could adjust it right then and there. So, definitely having a coach, whether it's me or somebody else, is huge. Okay. And let's share your favorite macro friendly dessert. I know you're a dessert girl. What's your favorite macro friendly?
I go through a few different things, but my favorite in the beginning, I made all kinds of yogurt bowls with Greek yogurt. And I would take the sugar-free Jell-O powders, and I would put those in to flavor it. And then I would put little crunched up, like smashed up pieces of Oreo and huge like piles and swirls of the, I think it was the sugar-free whipped cream on top. I mean, I made all kinds of different variations and flavors of those. But now my favorite thing is I got one of those Ninja Creamies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I make one, and my family, when I told them what was in it, they were like, I'm not eating that. But it's cottage cheese, protein powder, water, and Coke, like just chocolate, the cocoa.
Oh, yeah.
And then it tastes like a chocolate frosty that I have to hide because they all want it. I'm like, no, I pre-logged this. I am eating all of it.
Oh, I might have to get that creamy. All the clients are talking me into it. So that sounds amazing. And the fact that you have to hide it from your family, like, it's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, they would have never before been like, yes, I'll eat ice cream made out of cottage cheese, but it's so good.
Yes.
It's yummy.
Oh my God.
The Yasso bars. I will stock grocery stores for the Yasso bars, and the girls love them.
Yeah. Especially in the beginning, I think Yasso bars are really key.
Yes.
Simple, easy to log. Yes.
Yeah. The things that you don't have to make yourself and enter them in as a recipe, in the beginning, that's hard. So yeah, if you can just buy the Yasso bars, they pretty much taste the same as the ice creams that you make. Yeah. So yeah, I would suggest that if somebody's in a cut or just figuring it out.
Yes, for sure. We like to keep it simple. So if someone is on the fence about joining Kelly Kounts Macros Clubhouse membership, what would you tell them?
I would say do it. It's worth the money. We all spend money at Starbucks, going through the drive-through somewhere. It's so much easier with somebody's guidance. I mean, you're always available to help because it is confusing. The internet can confuse you. I had no idea, and people even ask me now, what's a macro? So it just is so helpful to have someone help you figure it out, because I think that's where everybody goes wrong, is there's so much information out there. It gets confusing. And then you say, forget it.
Right. Yeah. You feel stuck, right? Yeah. So all the information you kind of freeze and then you do nothing. And then you just go on that vicious cycle instead of taking that step. And with having me in your back pocket, really, you know, there's a no fail policy with that. So if you haven't joined Kelly Kounts Macros Clubhouse membership, we'd love to have you join us, right? Just go to kellykountsmacros.com and get on our early bird wait list. We can't wait to have you join us soon. So thank you again, Amanda, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Bye-bye.